Whether you've already done your drafts or you're about to, here are the top 5 players who will never be cheaper than they currently are at their going price. You're definitely going to want to go out and get them, whether that's by trade or via draft. Just go get them. These guys are going to blow up. Now, I like to keep it short and sweet, so we're going to hop right into number 5. And at number 5, we got Zach Charbonnet. While he's not one of the most sexy picks in the world, he is one of the easiest picks to make. Charbonnet is currently going as a running back 38 on Sleeper, which is weird because he's entering a year where he will likely have more opportunity than he did at any point in his career, and yet he's still being drafted than where he finished last season at running back 25. Now, of course, Kenneth Walker is still there. He will be the running back 1 in Seattle, but Charbonnet is a very, very talented running back 2 who could even go into that running back 1B kind of role, and he inevitably will have opportunity. And the second main point is if you actually go and look at the injury history of Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet's opportunity just looks even better. In 2022, Kenneth Walker had 3 injuries, a hamstring injury, a groin injury, and then an ankle injury. And in 2023, Kenneth Walker had a groin injury, an abdomen injury, and then a second abdomen injury in 2024, as well as a leg calf strain and a ankle sprain as well. And then he's already in 2025 dealing with another foot injury. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Charbonnet has not suffered any major injuries in nearly 2 years, with his last one being October 18th, 2023. And last year, in games where Charbonnet played 70% of snaps, which was a 6-game sample size, he averaged 19.2 fantasy points per game. And in games where he averaged over 80% of snaps, he averaged nearly 24 fantasy points per game, which is just unreal. Now, of course, this includes the outlier game where he had 38.3 points in week 14, but if you actually go and still take that out, he still averaged 19 fantasy points per game, which is just crazy for a guy who's going this late in drafts. So if Kenneth Walker does get injured, or even if Zach Charbonnet just ends up taking over this backfield, he will be an every week starter and a league winner at this price point. And with how cheap he's going right now, there's absolutely no reason to pass up on him at value. Now at number 4, we got the first receiver on this list, and that is DK Metcalf. Now it is obvious that DK Metcalf is the Steelers' dude. I mean, they sent their 2nd round pick as well as a late pick swap and immediately signed him to a 4-year, $132 million contract to keep him happy and in the building. Not to mention, he's literally the only competent receiver on the entire roster for a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, who loves to chuck the ball and has supported 2 wide receiver 1s on a bad team in New York with Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams last season. And then you throw in the fact that DK Metcalf is literally the exact wide receiver type that Aaron Rodgers loves. He is the big physical receiver that is able to catch contested catches and who dominates after the catch with his physicality. Now this year, the Steelers over-under was set at 8.5 wins by Vegas, which means they're projected to be in a ton of close games, as well as playing from behind a lot of the time, which is great for DK Metcalf because Arthur Smith, he'll be forced to scheme to actually pass the ball instead of run it just every single play. And with how dominant DK Metcalf is, with how very little target competition he has, it's hard not to see him significantly beat out his wide receiver 20 price tag and possibly even be back to a top 12 receiver this year for fantasy football. And I expect his value to only rise from here on out as long as A-Rod is healthy, so target DK everywhere in drafts. And at number 3, we have a guy who a lot of people have mixed feelings on. You either love him or you hate him, and that is Tedoroa McMillan. Now T-Mac is currently going off the board at wide receiver 28, which just is insane value for a player of his caliber. I truly just don't understand why people are even sleeping on this guy, especially when you go look at what he did in college. I mean, it's crazy. Last year at Arizona, he set the school's single season receiving record with 1,402 yards on just 90 receptions, which also was the 2nd most receptions in Arizona's history. And he became the first player ever in program history to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. This guy, he's just a dog. And now he goes to an ascending offense as the solidified wide receiver 1 for the former 1st overall pick, Bryce Young. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that T-Mac is going to be the target share leader for this team, so go out and get him. You're just going to want to have this guy. And in camp, he has been dominant already. I mean, he's been beating Derek Stingley, and he just makes it look absolutely easy. And at the wide receiver 28 price tag, you can often grab T-Mac as your wide receiver 2 or sometimes even your wide receiver 3, and that is exactly how you set yourself up to win your leagues. Now, as much as I love T-Mac, there is another guy who goes 1 spot higher than him at wide receiver 27 who I love even more, and that is George Pickens. The talent of George Pickens is undeniable, especially what he's been able to do with an absolute dumpster fire of quarterbacks throwing to him in Pittsburgh. Now, even last year in an extremely disappointing season, he still averaged 11.7 fantasy points per game, which is higher than guys like Marvin Harrison, who are still going several spots ahead of him. But now you have Pickens, who is literally a match made in heaven for Dallas with a competent quarterback in CeeDee Lamb to take the heat off of him. This is exactly what he has needed his entire career, and he's finally got it. And he's also going to the prime of his career with the best offense that he has ever seen in his career, and yet he is still being drafted as a wide receiver 3, which is just insane. Go out and grab him. I mean, last year Pickens led all wide receivers in hero catches, as well as had a 14.9% separation win rate. And now he is a quarterback who loves to throw those deep balls and has needed a wide receiver exactly like Pickens, and now he's got his guy. So do not leave your drafts without grabbing George Pickens. He is a must draft at price. I mean, personally, I'm even fine reaching on him. I love Pickens this year. And then at number 1, we have a guy who I've pretty much drafted on every single team in best ball, in fantasy football, everywhere. I even have him in the flock league, and that is Drake May. I mean, Drake May has legitimate quarterback 1 overall upside this year, and he could be the cheapest he will ever be for a long time. Last year as a rookie, Drake May had 9 games where he started and finished the game, in which he averaged 18.18 fantasy points per game, which is above guys like Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert. Now, May did this with literally no receiving options, no run game, and a terrible O-line. And now he has upgrades at wide receiver with Stephon Diggs and maybe guys like Kyle Williams if they can break out, as well as the best pass blocking rookie running back in the NFL who can also catch passes and poses as a receiving threat in Travion Henderson, as well as they made investments into the O-line. Literally, they're setting him up just for a beautiful season. But the biggest stat that literally nobody's talking about is Drake May's scramble rate. It's crazy. Let's go take a look at it. Last year, May had a scramble rate of 10.7, which is the 4th highest among all quarterbacks since 2021, and it's pretty comparable to guys like Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, and is higher than guys like Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. On top of this, May only had 14 yards off design runs, which is 1000% going to increase this year as they look to May's rushing ability to make him pose as more of a dual threat quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind that Drake May will have a crazy season this year if he can make everything click, and his upside is legitimately the best quarterback in fantasy football. It's right up there with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. It's just crazy. And Drake May going as the quarterback 16 in ADP is absolutely criminal. He's easily my top drafted quarterback across all platforms and one of my top drafted players in every single platform. So those are the top 5 guys that I believe will never be cheaper than they currently are. And if you have any others, drop them in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts, as well as hit that subscribe button because I got weekly content coming every single week throughout the season. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.